Good evening, guys. I wanted to get this Misty Mister out this evening. Well, good news, bad news. Okay, it's pretty obvious here that we got capped. Look at this. MSTR gained 9.1% and we gained 4.13. So they went from 1606 to 1752. And then we went, MSTY went from 29.29 to 30.50. So what was particularly frustrating, this is the bad news, is look at this. We had a 1675 for this week, okay, for expiring on Friday today. So we hit 1778. Bitcoin's been running the conference, Trump speaking, and then we got lucky and it traded down. It closed on Thursday at 1606, and I mentioned this on my video recap. It traded down as low as 1508, like an hour and a half before the close, and then moved up to 1606. So there was ample opportunity. Remember, we had a 1675. There's still a little dollar value in there, but there was a trade, I think, for $9 during the day. I'm guessing they could have pulled it off the table at $4 or $5, right? But I try and look, and again, sometimes they're in the flex system, but the price correlation is pretty close. They can do custom strikes, but in this case, it's not a custom strike because they exist in the normal options market as well. So I really wondered why they didn't. If they'd have taken it off $4, $5, $6, $7, even $9, because they had written it for 48. Okay, look up here. So if they had done that, we would have captured out of that that 12 million that we had written it for, we would have captured 10 plus million, over 80%. Maybe it'd been as high as 85 or 88% if we'd have bought it for $3 or $4. But instead, they took a risk, right? So at 1606, immediately after the market closed, Bitcoin starts moving. Now it's going into Friday. The FOMO of, the Trump Saturday talk, all of that info about, is he going to talk favorably about Bitcoin? Is he going to say we're considering to keep the dollar strong? We want to put a hard asset like Bitcoin, gold, other hard assets, commodities to back the dollar. We don't want the BRICS. We don't want other nations, destroying our dollar. We want it somewhat to retain the reserve currency. Right now, we're pretty much the only buyer of our treasuries. When we print money, we have to issue treasuries. And that's changed a lot. China used to buy all of our treasuries because all of Walmart and everything was full with Chinese goods. Well, they still are. That's why Trump wants to put the tariff in place if he gets elected. And whether that's right or wrong, there's a lot of arguments about tariffs. But what I wanted to tell you about is what I see of poor execution. So not taking an 80% gain resulted in a massive loss. So we went from getting 10 million of the 12 million collected to having to spend 24, okay? So we lost 12.4 million. So that swing of having 10 million to spending 12 is $22 million that we left. So probability, who can fault you if you took that off the table with an 80% gain with one trading day? But guess what? Some fund managers got 4 funds. He's not watching the news. We think, oh, this guy's an expert in Bitcoin. He really knows MicroStrategy. No, he's just an options executor on a script. He knows options very well. And somebody will say, well, he's not paid to try and be a market, procrastinator or try, prognosticator. So, but it's money. It's $22 million that changed in a blink of an eye. Nobody's going to fault you for taking a $10 million gain and securing it. Okay. So just giving you my 2 cents. I'm not going to beat it up. So then what did they do? Whenever you roll one, you write another one. I was talking with some of the guys in the Discord. Because Bitcoin trades 24 hours, it may make sense to just wait till Monday, give it the weekend, and then write your call. You know, that premium isn't going to really matter that much from Friday at 5 p.m. till Monday. Honestly, 6 days premium doesn't matter much versus five. So we put a trade on. Okay, we got that money. You could say we got that money back, but I look at it like we still lost that. We were going to get this no matter what. So we wrote this 2535 contracts for 97.1 and we collected 24 million, right? But we could have collected 8 plus 24, and instead we lost 12 and collected 24. So we had a net 12 instead of a net 34, right? It's no matter how you look at it, it's a $22 million loss on not doing something. High probability trade. So I'm going to leave it at that. And I know there's a YouTuber out there saying, hey, I love Misty. I'm going to be a, 5 millionaire and, in 5 years. And any YouTubers that talk about poor execution, go out and do your own trades. Well, the reason we're in an income fund is economies of scale. On a $1,800 stock, they can put on hundreds of contracts. We can buy in, pay a 1% management fee, but that doesn't give them the right to poor execution. The truth is we have to settle. Maybe somebody will come in and execute better and offer the same yield and do the same thing. And then guess what? I'm sure a lot of us would jump over there. So my plan with MSTR, because at 1,800, you got to buy 100 shares. You have to deploy a lot of money into being able to write one contract. Well, I'm already doing that kind of things in a Tesla and a Coney because it's cheaper. The underlying is, a couple $100. But it becomes even easier because Mr. is splitting for 10 to 1. Let's not forget, right, on effective August 8th. So, look, I still like Misty. I still own some. But yeah, do I think I can do better? Yeah, a lot better. Will I do better? Yes. So, and there are times when we're going to finish the Bitcoin run. If we run up to 125 or 130 and the probabilities say we're going to go back, in a down wave to test maybe 74, the previous all-time high and the breakout point, then why do I want to own this income fund? Well, I could own the income fund and still get the income, even though I'm going to have a massive NAV, and just go buy a 2x bear and make all my money on that side while I lose it here, but I still get some income. So there's a lot of strategies you can deploy. I get it. Some of you don't have option skills, I'm helping some of my people in my Discord with their option skills. And that's some of the stuff that we try and do because you have to take it on. If you think you can just park your money somewhere and there's not going to be massive volatility, ups and downs. So let's go take a look at it. All right, so we got some of that money back, but let's take a look at, okay, so here's our weekly. So what did they do? They wrote the same amount of contracts. I get it. They went to 1775. And we were very close to that. They wrote it right near the end. And we're 1752. They got great money. They got $97.10. But guess what? We're 1.27% away. Now, they win only if it's a buy the rumor, sell the news. We know Trump's going to speak positively and talk about some kind of strategic reserve for the treasuries and doing that. And that's going to cause Bitcoin more than likely right after that conference to soar because it's traded 24 hours. The hope is we have a week and it comes back down, buy the rumor, sell the news. It may not. We may end the week at 2,000. Well, what happens then? That 97.10 is going to be 300 that we bought back. Well, it'll be, if we wrote at 1775, it'll be 225. So we got 97 and bought it back for 225. That's pretty ugly. I'm not saying that's going to happen, But I would have chosen 1900 and settled for $40 given this conference. So all I say is, if you're a fund manager and you're operating, four funds, just watch the news, pay attention. Clearly they would on earnings. If there were earnings coming out, they always talk about that. Oh, we go out further. Anyway, that's my frustration here, guys. Let's go look at holdings. So I summed all this up for you here, right? The good news, our synthetic is 52. I'll get in that in a minute. So on Thursday, they had an opportunity for a few dollars. So I left it on here, right? I put in what was the closing price on Thursday, 937. That was at 1606. It was 1508. So assume it's $4, right? At $4, this would have been $1 million. So you collected 12.4 and spent $1 million, okay, to buy it back. We would have had an $11 million gain instead of a $24 million loss. So it's exactly, go back and watch my video after closing yesterday saying what I thought could happen. And even on top of that, it opened at 1689, right? So 89 above 17, or sorry, 1689 above 1675 is 14. Add $3, $4, $5 of premium. The low trade, I looked at the low trade, was $38. Okay, so conceivably, if they execute it quickly, and I realize they're in flex and they've got to make a phone call, but they could have taken that back at $38 or $40, and that would have lessened. That would have cut our loss in half, right? Instead of 97, which is, sorry, they wrote this new call, or sorry, yeah, that's what they paid. Sorry, guys, I put this one down here because this is a new one, and ironically, they sold it for 97.10. But this is what could have happened even at the close on Thursday, of doing it there, but instead this is what happened, which I told you was going to happen very likely. All right, this makes me nervous because of how close it is to the actual price. So as I said, we've got 1.27 and we're there. Heck, that thing could open 15% up. So I advise them just leave it alone on the week and let it play out. At that point, you have such a bad loss, you can hope somehow it's buy the rumor, sell the news. All right, let's go over and see if there's anything else. So we closed at 30.50. Fair value is 30.62. So we're 12 cents undervalued. Now, let me give you the good news. Back to this 52 million. So whenever you run aggressively, and the same thing will happen next week, right? If it were to go to 2,000 and close the week, we'd get killed in our weeklies. We'd have a $30 million loss, $35 million loss. But guess what? We would have another $35 million gain. But it doesn't always have to be that way. You can win on the weekly if you play it smart. When you see an opportunity, you take it, okay? Because these things can turn on a dime. And why not take an 80 or 85% gain? Why risk that 15% more that you maybe could get only to lose big? So that's where I'm at, guys. So 52 million. Now let me show you the math. Now let's get over here to payouts. So we have now a 32-cent loss, okay? Because we got dinged here. We got hit hard, right? I mean, we got that loss and then we wrote the new one, but we're not even positive, right? And what did I tell you that was worth? That's a $1.50 swing. So we would be having a $1.20 here had we taken that off Thursday. Just saying. And then the positive is, this is what I mentioned here, but we do have, because the synthetic stays long and it gets all the gains, we've got a $50 million gain. What's that worth? And by the way, the share count went down 275,000. No big deal. Some people sold. It's probably people saying, yeah, I sell when it gets to 30 and buy when it gets to 22 to 24. Well, that works till it doesn't work. I have a feeling if this thing runs, it'll get well over 30 here. It's hard to say if this is the momentum to run or not, or just another high move up and a slide back to 15, 1600 on MSTR. We'll see. So this is your share count, right? 14,575 versus 14,850. So that helps us, right? But when you look at the payout, it's still kind of ugly. You'd say, where's the money? Well, right now, and we could lose again on our weekly. But guess what? They can roll this if they need to. They got $3.43 based on the 50 million in the share count. So there's something there that says we can get a 2+ payout. But if this thing turns and goes the other way, then all we do is make that 12 million or 24 million on that, and we won't make near as much, right? So if that synthetic comes back and loses that, all we can do is win the weekly, right? And I think that's already in the number. Yeah, that's already in the number. So we really, this 343 is not really 343 if we get killed here, although we would go up more. So those two kind of offset each other. So I feel good. We'll probably get a $2 payout. And I know you guys that don't understand options and can't do anything about it, you're happy. But I'm not happy when I see poor execution. Stick with probabilities. I don't expect them to go out a week and know this and know that. But short term, they should know what's going on within a day. They do on earnings, so they should adjust to other things that impact these underlyings. Okay, guys, again, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. It's for fun and entertainment, and it gives me a little chance to rant. Okay, guys, have a great weekend ahead. Bye for now.